Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we ask ourselves what happened today, what does it tell us about the coming days? Do the show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube. It's under the channel LA Little. You can subscribe by just reaching up there in the right-hand corner. Subscription will get you content pushed, or actually will get you content notification each time it's pushed. So go ahead and subscribe. It's easy and free. As far as the show schedule, I will be taking the day off tomorrow and be back with you on Sunday. We do a Sunday broadcast as well. Let's take a look at what the numbers were today, how we ended up another day of push. You had the big bounce take place off that euro. We thought that euro might weaken, and it did, and again, it led to the nice big bounce over in the DAX and the CACs. Had follow through here one more day. And, if you would have asked me, 3-4 days ago, could we get back the 4.5% that we lost? I would have said, man, it's going to be hard. But, we're more than halfway there already, and you still got next week on this Santa Claus rally on these back-to-back 2 weeks. Probably the two best weeks of the year. As far as elsewhere, bonds down, gold down. You had the oil actually jacked up today 5%. And boy, we got the energy stocks rocking and rolling higher as a result. A lot of short squeezes took place there. Big numbers racked up over in Asia again. And you got some follow through tonight on the Nikkei, it looks like. Last night they were slightly down. As far as these markets, let's take a look at them. Here's the daily chart on the S&P, and as you can see, 3 days up. Let's just look at them here. You got 0.78, 0.88, and now 0.124. So you've racked up about almost 3% on the way up to about 2.7 on the way up. You're coming back into these highs that were there prior. And, really the story is over here on the weekly. You've had, after the big, run off that September low, in other words, we had the August, swoon, a little bounce, come back down, try to test, and then you come straight off of that 6 weeks in a row up. And since then, it's been 7 weeks sideways, of which 5 now have been 4% moves. And one of them was about 3, only one. The little small one here was the only one that didn't do anything. Everything else, big rocks and big rolls, and you had big volume last week off the options expiration. But it held the top, and as I pointed out before, you basically have 2 ranges here. You have the range up here. It really goes to about right there, and then you have the other one that's up underneath it, right? And these 2 ranges so far have held on every attempt to break them back down. So each time back down here, you see the market come into this area. It holds, bounces back up, gets up to the top, can't get over the breakdown bar, falls back down. Here we go, coming back up into the end of the year. It looks to me like they're going to make the run to try to get back up there one more time and try to get over it. If you get over it and you stay over it for a couple bars on a weekly basis, you're probably going to blow away these tops and get nominal new highs at least. And so that's the way this market looks. It just doesn't want to give it up. And I guess that's the way this year is going to end, with another, rally back towards the top, basically end up break even on the year probably. Let me see, December. Let me go back and find the numbers here from last year. The top last year was about there. It was about 2058. We're trading at 2064. So we're basically back in the even, sideways on the year right now. All right, let's take a look at the other ones here. NASDAQ got the same sort of thing. Let's see, NASDAQ runs back to the highs, and not quite as judicious as the S&P 500. Of course, the range is not quite as high either, but the NASDAQ is running back up to the highs. And, of course, all this is taking place on no volume. This is just, slow, low volume pushes. Now, one thing has been true all this week is the NDX has failed to put up the kind of juice that the S&P has. You had a 1% off the bottom. That was the only day, 0.63. Today was 0.77, whereas you got a over a percent move. And then the one that really started to move was the Russell. The Russell comes up today, gets back over this high, 1151.40. It closes at 52.82. This one's set up to try and spike tomorrow. So we've got a bearish retest regen. That's going to be what you want to watch here. And if we draw it in, it's right at that price point. And so if you can pop over this, right, you can get a decent run going to the top side. And so that's the big question tomorrow is, can they get this thing up and over that bearish retest regenerate? And what that is, if you're not familiar with the terminology, that's basically saying, you came down, and when you came down, you broke swing point lows. And you take the lowest one, which is over here, and you take the high of that swing point low and you draw it across, and you say, okay, to get this to change trend, right? Because when it transitioned right here, it transitioned bearish. That's what the down arrow tells you. So you went from bullish to bearish on one move, and that's because you broke 4 swing point lows on the way, right? And so you go bullish to bearish, you get down, you bounce up, you test, you can't get over it, you come back down, you come right back at it, and you're going to try to get over it now. If you get over it, of course, then that says, oh, okay, that downtrend really isn't in effect. We've more or less got, at worst, we've got some sort of sideways trend, and potentially this can eventually go bullish again. So that's the test. As you can see right here, you got a swing point high sitting there. If you can get over that, that changes you to sideways. That doesn't always happen, but in this case it will. Sideways trend. Question is, can you get back to the top, make it bullish? And that's the Russell, and shaping up just like you'd want it to. It's been the laggard all year. If you look back at this one, December, let me get the December chart up last year. The Russell closed out around 1189, and we're trading at 1152. So you're still down about 3.5–4%. All right, overseas, let's go take a look at those guys. We'll start here with the DAX. So now, last night we were talking about, are we going to get an ABCD structure up or down? And right now, it's looking more like up, isn't it? So you come down, you test in to this big bar. That was what we looked at last night. So you test into it, and now you're going to try and get the break back over this high, right, which would give you the ABCD structure back to the top side. And it would probably take you up to about right there, right, top of this breakdown bar. And that's probably where it's going to take it to if it can get over this high. That's going to be the key now, is can you get over the high. You got a little bit more volume coming today. And I think the key here, if you're trying to decide whether to get on top of that move, it's not, in this particular case, you don't have a good setup to give you much of an early warning, right? It's the bottom of this big bar, and the top of that big bar is going to be the target. So you need to get over that, and of course you need to get over this bar. They both happen about simultaneously. So in this particular case, the ABCD structure is going to fire about the same time as that. So that's the key. You got to see it get up here and hold. If it holds, it's going to make a run to the top. That's the DAX. Let's look at the CACs right quick and see what we got there. And let's see. So on the CACs, weaker, but same scenario. It's just not going to go as far. And you can see this one. This one actually came into that big bar. The same big bar. This was all off of Draghi. That same big bar comes into it, right? Fades back down. Now it's going to try to get into it again. And in this case, the ABCD structure is not going to get you as far, but would get you up to about where I've drawn in that arrow or that cross sign, right? It gets you up into about right there. And so about halfway through. And that actually corresponds with this gap area. And if you go back and look at the DAX, right, it's the same sort of thing over there. They're just, the price points just look different. The DAX came back into this one, right, and that's where it came back into on the support, and now it's going to push back higher, or is at least pushing back higher. Last night we looked at the Shanghai. I got to get the volume figures in here again, but the Shanghai got up, tested those highs, fell back. Looks to me like that one's going to try to pull back. Nikkei last night was really just a sideways bar, didn't go anywhere. If we look at the Hong Kong got a nice rally last night and gets over that B point we were looking at last night. So that's going to get it. If it can stay over tonight, I suspect you're going to get a run, an ABCD structure, to take you to the top of this November 27th bar. That would get you over a swing point high, change this to sideways. So overseas, you're getting the sort of thing you want to see. Here domestically, you definitely get the Santa Claus push. Europe getting the nice bounce and the potential to set up the ABCD structures higher. And all of this coming in the last 2 weeks of the year, which typically are the most bullish 2 weeks of the year. And this year looks to be the same script. Over at the Ox markets, let's just take one quick look and make sure that there's nothing there that's going to stop this, because right now, with a short day tomorrow, looks to me like this market's going to make its run a little bit higher come tomorrow, unless that Russell can't scale that wall it's facing. So let me see the euro real quick. Here we go. Euro. Now this was supposedly trying to push back in. Let me get that screen up bigger. So we came. No, actually did a nice little reversal, little hammer. Yeah, that's actually going to probably keep Europe from pushing higher tomorrow. So that's kind of an interesting one. Let's see what the Japanese yen is doing, and then I'll take a quick look at the dollar. So the yen's not doing anything different, just continuing to push, and the dollar is also going to try to work lower. So dollar working lower, euro probably going to try to work a little bit higher tomorrow. Again, the dollar is not hurting our markets, it's actually helping it. And when the euro drops, it helps the European markets, which also helps our markets in this 2 week period. So for U.S. markets, they're going to try to grind higher. Europe looks like they're going to be flat, maybe a little bit of a settle back in from the Christmas Day holiday. Well, that's it for tonight. I'm going to leave it at that. I think you get a little bit more grind tomorrow, and then you got one more week, about 4 more days, 3.5 more days after that to close out the year. And if it's anything like this week, U.S. markets will be sitting at their highs or almost their highs for the year. Have a great one. I will see you on Sunday evening. Have a good night, and Merry Christmas to all of you, and Happy Holidays. Good night, everybody.